What the hell is he doing here? Security? Get this man out before he steals something. The oceanfront pavilion at Wellington Manor blazed with crystal chandeliers and gold-rimmed china. 300 elite guests in designer gowns sipped Dom Perignon under imported silk canopies. A black man in a tailored suit stood at the guest registry. His voice was calm. "Ma'am, I was invited." "Invited?" A blonde woman in diamonds shrieked with laughter. "By who? The kitchen staff? God, the nerve! Richard, call the police! He probably cased this place online." An older man snapped his fingers at the black man like calling a dog. "Hey, buddy, the back door is that way. Move it!" A socialite aimed her phone, laughing. "This is going viral! The wedding crasher thinks he can just walk in with real people!" The man stood motionless, dignified, silent. What happened next would shatter everything these people thought they knew about power, privilege, and the cost of judging a book by its cover. 20 minutes earlier, the man had arrived at Wellington Manor's iron gates. His name was James Thompson, 58 years old. He drove himself in a modest sedan. The parking attendant looked confused when he handed over the keys. James walked 400 yards from the outer lot to the main pavilion. His suit was bespoke Savile Row. His shoes were handmade Italian leather. On his left hand, a West Point class ring caught sunlight. On his lapel, 2 small pins, a Purple Heart, a Medal of Honor ribbon. No one noticed. The wedding was a monument to wealth. White silk tents stretched across the oceanfront lawn like billowing clouds. Crystal chandeliers hung inside, each worth more than a luxury car. Gilded chairs, French linens, ice sculptures of swans melting in the June heat. 300 guests mingled in clusters, women in Chanel and Dior, men in Tom Ford and Brioni. Diamonds glittered everywhere. The air smelled of expensive perfume and imported roses. This was old money meeting older money. The Wellington family had ruled the Hamptons for 7 generations. Real estate, banking, carefully maintained social connections. They sat on museum boards. They controlled who belonged. Today was their daughter's wedding. Sarah Wellington, 28, was marrying Lieutenant Brandon Cole. The groom was 32, Army officer. Middle-class background from Ohio. His father had died 2 years ago. The social divide was obvious. The bride's side overflowed with senators and CEOs. The groom's side held 20 military officers in dress uniforms. They stood out like soldiers in a ballroom. Margaret Wellington commanded the scene. 55. Blonde hair in a perfect chignon. Custom Valentino dress. Vintage Cartier jewelry. She'd spent 8 months planning this million-dollar wedding. Every detail is perfect. Every guest vetted. Her husband, James Wellington, hovered nearby. 60. Real estate mogul. Quiet. Wealthy. He nodded at whatever Margaret said. He always did. Senator Richard Hartford arrived in a black Mercedes. 62. Silver hair. Chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee. Sarah's godfather. He kissed Margaret on both cheeks. Magnificent, Margaret. Simply magnificent. Margaret's smile was triumphant. Only the best for our Sarah. Preston Blackwood landed by helicopter, 45, hedge fund billionaire, Margaret's brother, custom tuxedo, Rolex worth 6 figures, loud, crass, new money pretending to be old. "This must have cost a fortune, sis." He slapped James Wellington's back. "Hope the groom's worth it." Margaret laughed. "We're not marrying him for his money, Preston." "Good thing," Preston bellowed, "because he doesn't have any." The crowd laughed, the kind of laughter wealthy people made about those who weren't. Victoria Ashford arrived late. 52, society columnist. She controlled the social pages of 3 newspapers. An invitation to her column meant you'd arrived. An insult meant social death. All black. Designer purse. A phone is like a weapon. "Victoria, darling," Margaret air-kissed her. "Wouldn't miss it." Victoria's fingers moved across her phone. typing, photographing. Tomorrow's column would make or break reputations. Near the ceremony entrance, military officers clustered together. They looked uncomfortable, too formal, too disciplined. They didn't drink much. They didn't laugh at Preston's jokes. Colonel Patricia Reynolds stood with arms crossed. 48, black, career officer. She kept checking the entrance. "He should be here by now," she muttered. "Maybe he changed his mind," Major Morrison replied. "After what Brandon told him about the family?" Reynolds shook her head. "He gave his word. He'll come." The contrast was stark. The bride's guests wore wealth-like armor, designer labels, premium champagne, conversations about yacht clubs and summer homes in the south of France. The groom's guests spoke differently, about deployments, training exercises, brothers and sisters lost in combat. Their dress uniforms were spotless but simple. No Rolexes, no diamonds. Margaret had made comments all morning, loud enough for people to hear, soft enough to claim innocence. "Brandon's friends are so earnest. Military types, very committed, very different. I hope they know how to behave at a proper wedding." Sarah had heard every word. She said nothing. She loved Brandon, but she also loved her mother. The tension was eating her alive. Brandon himself was inside the manor house, getting ready, adjusting his dress uniform, checking his watch every 3 minutes, waiting for the most important guest to arrive, the man he owed his life to, the man who'd carried him out of a burning vehicle under enemy fire, the man his new mother-in-law was about to destroy. The string quartet played Vivaldi. Waiters circulated with champagne and caviar. The ocean crashed against rocks. The sun painted everything gold. It was perfect. It was about to explode. James Thompson reached the guest registry table. A young woman in a headset managed the sign-in. She smiled politely. He picked up the gold pen. "Excuse me." Margaret's voice cut across the pavilion like a whip crack. "What do you think you're doing?" Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Heads turned. Margaret Wellington strode toward the table. Her heels clicked on marble. Her face was tight with outrage. James looked up. His voice was calm. "Signing the guest book, ma'am. You most certainly are not." Margaret snatched the pen from his hand. "This is a private event, for invited guests only." "I am invited." James reached into his jacket pocket. "I have—" "Stop right there." Preston Blackwood appeared beside his sister. "Don't reach for anything. Security!" 2 security guards materialized. Kyle Patterson led them, 35, former police officer, white. He looked James up and down with practiced suspicion. "Sir, we're going to need you to come with us," Kyle said. James pulled out an embossed invitation, cream cardstock, gold lettering, his name printed clearly, Lieutenant Colonel James Thompson. He held it toward Margaret. Margaret barely glanced at it. "Anyone can print these. I personally approved every name on this list, and you are not on it." A crowd gathered. 20 guests, then 40, then 60. Phones rose like a field of flowers, recording, photographing, witnessing. Senator Hartford pushed through the crowd. His voice boomed with authority. "Margaret, what's the problem here?" "This man is crashing the wedding, Richard. He's refusing to leave." Hartford looked at James. His eyes narrowed. "Son, this wedding is for invited guests only. Whatever service you're here to provide, check in with the event coordinator, not the guest registry." "Sir, I am a guest." James's voice remained steady. "If you'll allow me to explain—" "Explain!" Preston laughed loud enough for everyone to hear. "Here we go, the explanation. Let me guess, you're somebody's +1 who got the date wrong?" Laughter rippled through the crowd. Not nervous laughter, mean laughter, the kind that comes easy when you're part of the majority. "I was invited by Lieutenant Brandon Cole, the groom. I've known him since—" The groom? Margaret's voice climbed an octave. My son-in-law doesn't know people like... She caught herself. I mean, I'm sure there's been some misunderstanding. No misunderstanding, ma'am. Brandon specifically asked me to... Brandon? Margaret's laugh was sharp as broken glass. You call him Brandon? Not Lieutenant Cole? Just... Brandon? We've served together. Served? Preston interrupted. Like, you served him, drove him somewhere, cooked for him. More laughter, louder now. 60 guests became 80. The crowd pressed closer. The air felt thick, suffocating. James's jaw tightened, just slightly, just enough to show he felt every word. But his posture remained perfect. Military straight, hands at his sides, non-threatening. Victoria Ashford pushed to the front. Her phone was already out, already typing. This is incredible. Wedding crasher at the Wellington event. My readers will eat this up. Kyle, the security guard, stepped closer. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave the property. Voluntarily, or we can call the police. I'd prefer not to leave, James said quietly. I gave my word I'd be here. Your word? Preston's voice dripped with mockery. Buddy, I don't know what game you're playing. These people... He gestured at the crowd. They're senators, CEOs, real estate moguls. You think you can just walk in here? Senator Hartford pulled out his phone. I'm calling the police. This has gone on long enough. Please don't do that, James said. There's no need. No need? Margaret's voice was shrill now. You've disrupted my daughter's wedding. You've made our guests uncomfortable, and you're refusing to leave. A woman in a Dior gown spoke up. I saw him near the gift table earlier. Was he causing it? She hadn't. She'd arrived 10 minutes ago. But the lie spread like fire in dry grass. Oh my God, you're right, another guest joined in. I saw him too, looking at the envelopes. Probably checking which ones have cash, Preston added. Classic move. James's hands trembled, just slightly. Just for a second. He clenched them into fists, then released. His breathing remained controlled, but his eyes showed something new. Not anger. Pain. Ladies and gentlemen, he said, his voice cutting through the noise. I understand how this looks, but I assure you, I am here as an invited guest. If someone could simply get Lieutenant Cole... Stop calling him that, Margaret shouted. Stop using military titles like you have any right to. For all we know, you're impersonating... Stolen valor! A guest shouted from the back. The crowd erupted. Stolen valor. The accusation spread through the pavilion like poison. That's a federal crime, someone yelled. Arrest him! Senator Hartford's face hardened. Officers are on the way. If you're impersonating a military officer, you're going to federal prison. Kyle moved to James's side. His hand rested on his belt. Not on a weapon, but the implication was clear. Sir, put your hands where I can see them. James raised his hands slowly, palms out, non-threatening. The crowd pressed closer, phones everywhere, flashes going off like lightning. 2 police cruisers pulled up. Sirens off, but lights flashing. Officer Daniels emerged first. 45, white, 20 years on the force. Officer Martinez followed. 38, Hispanic, former military herself. Margaret rushed to meet them. Officers, thank God! This man has been trespassing, refusing to leave. We believe he's impersonating a military officer. Officer Daniels approached James. His hand rested on his belt. Sir, can you identify yourself? General James Thompson, United States Army. James reached slowly for his wallet. May I show you my military ID? General? Preston's laugh was explosive. Oh, this is rich! He's claiming to be a general now! James produced a military ID card. Laminated. Official. He handed it to Officer Daniels. The officer examined it carefully. His expression shifted, confusion mixed with concern. "This appears legitimate," Daniels said quietly. "Of course it looks legitimate," Margaret shrieked. "That's the whole point of a good fake." Senator Hartford stepped forward. "Officers, I'm Senator Richard Hartford. I chair the Senate Armed Services Committee. I know every four-star general in the United States military. This man is not one of them." The crowd murmured. A senator would know. Wouldn't he? "Senator Hartford would know," a guest shouted. "He's lying!" Another voice. "Faker!" Officer Martinez took the ID. She studied it longer. Her jaw tightened. She whispered something to her partner. Daniels nodded. They looked at James differently now. "Ma'am," Martinez said carefully, "we need to verify this before we—" "Before you what?" Preston pushed forward. "A senator just told you he's fake. What more do you need?" Margaret grabbed Martinez's arm. "I want him searched. For weapons, drugs, whatever he's hiding." "Ma'am, we can't search someone without probable cause," Martinez said. "This is private property." Margaret's voice climbed higher. "Wellington property! Search for him or I'll have your badges!" The threat hung in the air. The Wellington family had power, money, connections. James spoke quietly. "Officers, I do not consent to a search. I have committed no crime." "There," Preston pointed. "He's refusing. That's suspicious. That's the probable cause." "Then take him to the station," Margaret demanded. "Trespassing, disturbing the peace, impersonating an officer, I want charges filed," Victoria Ashford typed furiously. "Getting all of it. Man arrested at Wellington wedding for stolen valor. This will be everywhere by tonight." Colonel Patricia Reynolds pushed forward. "Mrs. Wellington, you need to stop. This man is—" "And who are you?" Margaret whirled on her. "Colonel Patricia Reynolds, United States Army." "Oh, another one," Preston laughed. "What is this, a convention? Security, remove her too." Senator Hartford made a show of calling someone. "Yes, Senator Hartford here. I need verification on a military officer. General James Thompson." "Yes. I'll hold." He waited. The crowd waited. James stood perfectly still, his eyes forward, his breathing controlled, but his hands were shaking now. Hartford's face lit up with triumph. "No record? Pentagon confirms no general by that name." He snapped his phone shut. "Officers, you have your answer. He's a fraud." The crowd erupted. Angry shouts, demands for arrest. Officer Daniels reached for his handcuffs. "Sir, given the circumstances, I need you to place your hands behind your back." James looked at the handcuffs, at the crowd, at Margaret's triumphant smile, at Senator Hartford's smug satisfaction. He looked at the manor house, where Brandon was, where the truth was. "Officer," James said quietly, "before you do this, I'm asking you, call Pentagon verification. The direct line. I can give you the number." "More stalling!" Margaret shouted. "Handcuff him! Now!" Officer Daniels stepped behind James. The handcuffs clicked open. The crowd cheered. The metal felt cold against James's wrists. The handcuffs clicked shut. One, then the other. The sound echoed across the pavilion like gunshots. The crowd erupted in applause. Actually applauding. Like they'd just watched justice being served instead of witnessing a lynching in designer clothes. "Finally," Preston pumped his fist in the air. "About time someone put him in his place." Victoria Ashford held her phone high, recording everything. Her voice carried over the noise. "And this, ladies and gentlemen, is how the Wellington family handles wedding crashers. Swift, decisive, no tolerance for criminals." Margaret smoothed her dress. Her smile was radiant, victorious. "Officers, I want him taken away immediately, and I want a full report filed. Trespassing, stolen valor, attempted theft, all of it." Ma'am, we haven't established, Officer Martinez began. You've established enough. Margaret cut her off. A United States Senator confirmed he's a fraud. What more do you need? James stood with his hands cuffed behind his back. His posture remained straight, military perfect. But something had changed in his eyes. The calm was cracking, not with anger, with something deeper. Resignation mixed with profound sadness. Officer Daniels reached for his radio. Dispatch, this is Unit 12. We have one in custody at the Wellington estate. Need a supervisor. The radio crackled. Static. Then a different voice. Older. More authority. Unit 12, this is Captain Stevens. What's the situation? Sir, we have a male subject claiming to be General James Thompson. ID appears authentic, but we're getting conflicting. What ID number? Stevens's voice was sharp now. Daniels read it from the card. The radio went silent. 10 seconds. 20. 30. The crowd shifted, murmured, waited. Unit 12. Stevens's voice was different now. Careful. Very careful. Do not take any action. Repeat. Do not take any action. Supervisor en route. ETA 3 minutes. Maintain position. Daniels looked at Martinez. She looked back. Something unspoken passed between them. Daniels reached for James's handcuffs. What are you doing? Margaret shrieked. Don't you dare uncuff him. Ma'am, we received orders to... I don't care what orders you received. I'm giving you orders. As the property owner, I'm telling you to remove this criminal from my daughter's wedding. Senator Hartford stepped forward. Officers, I'm invoking my authority as chairman of the Armed Services Committee. This man is impersonating a military officer. That's federal jurisdiction. I'm instructing you to maintain custody. Officer Martinez's jaw tightened. Senator, with all respect, we take orders from our chain of command. Not from a senator? Hartford's face flushed red. Do you know who I am? Do you know what I can do for your career? Yes, sir, Martinez said quietly. We do. The crowd pressed closer. 100 people now. Maybe more. All filming, all watching, all waiting for blood. Preston pushed to the front. What's the holdup? Take him away. My sister wants him gone. Sir, please step back, Daniels said. Don't tell me to step back. Preston's face was inches from the officers. My family donates $500,000 a year to the police union. Chief Patterson golfs with my brother-in-law. You think you can just ignore us? A guest shouted from the crowd. They're protecting him. The cops are in on it. Another voice. It probably paid off. Police corruption. Do your jobs. The mob energy was building. Ugly. Dangerous. The kind of energy that led to terrible things. James stood in the center of it all, handcuffed, silent. His eyes were closed now. His lips moved slightly. Was he praying, counting, trying to stay calm? Margaret turned to the crowd, raised her voice, playing them like an actress on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for this disruption. This person tried to infiltrate my daughter's wedding, to steal from you, to violate the sanctity of this celebration, but justice is being served. Applause. Actual applause. Like she'd given a speech at a campaign rally. Victoria Ashford typed faster. Wellington matriarch Margaret Wellington personally stops wedding crashers. Exclusive photos. Exclusive interview coming. A woman in a Hermes scarf spoke up. Margaret, you were so brave. Confronting him like that, I would have been terrified. Someone had to protect our community, Margaret replied, loud enough for everyone to hear. These people think they can go anywhere, do anything. It's time we reminded them that society has standards. The crowd murmured agreement, nodded, filmed more. Colonel Reynolds was still trying to push through. 2 security guards blocked her. Kyle had his hand on her shoulder. Ma'am, you need to leave the area, Kyle said. That man is a 4-star general, Reynolds shouted. You're making the biggest mistake of your lives. Sure he is, Kyle smirked. And I'm the president. Ma'am, if you don't leave voluntarily, I'll have you removed too. I'm a colonel in the United States Army. Right, Kyle said. And I'm Superman. Security, escort her out. 2 more guards grabbed Reynolds. She didn't resist. But her eyes found James, found his face. She mouthed something. Hang on. He's coming. James didn't respond, didn't acknowledge, just stood there, handcuffed, humiliated, in front of 300 people. Preston walked around James like he was examining a car. Look at him. Can't even defend himself. Pathetic. You know what I think? I think he's done this before, crashed other weddings, stolen from other families. This is probably his whole con. You're absolutely right, a guest agreed. These people have networks. They share information, target wealthy events. Someone should check if anything's missing, another voice added. Margaret snapped her fingers at Kyle. Check the gift table, all the envelopes, make sure nothing's been touched. Kyle jogged over, came back. Everything's there, ma'am. Check again, Margaret demanded. Carefully. He's clever. He might have pocketed something. James finally spoke. His voice was quiet, but it carried. I have not stolen anything. I have not touched anything. I came here because I was invited. By a man I respect. A man I'd die for. That's the only reason I'm here. Die for? Preston laughed. Oh, that's good. The hero speech. Do you rehearse these lines? Probably uses them at every wedding, a guest chimed in. I bet it works on bleeding hearts, another added. Not here, Margaret said coldly. Not at my wedding. Here, we see through the act. Senator Hartford pulled out his phone again, made another show of calling someone. Yes, it's Senator Hartford again. I need you to send someone to the Wellington estate. We have a situation with stolen valor. Yes, possible weapons. Yes, federal case. Thank you. He hung up, addressed the crowd. FBI is sending an agent. This is bigger than local police can handle. The crowd murmured. FBI, federal case. This was serious. This was real. Officer Martinez's radio crackled again. Unit 12, status? Still at the scene, Captain. Subject in custody. Large crowd. The situation is complicated. Supervisor is 2 minutes out. Hold position. And officers? Stevens paused. Be very, very careful. You understand? Copy that, sir. Martinez looked at her partner. Daniels looked back. They both looked at James. Something wasn't right. They could feel it. But the crowd, the senator, the Wellington family, the pressure was enormous. Margaret checked her watch. Officers, the ceremony is supposed to start in 15 minutes. I need this resolved now. Take him away. Process him. Do whatever you need to do. Just get him off my property. Ma'am, we're waiting for our supervisor, Daniel said. I don't care about your supervisor. Margaret's voice was shrill now, losing control. I want him gone, James. She turned to her husband. Call the mayor. Call the police chief. Call someone. James Wellington already had his phone out. I'm on it, dear. Preston grabbed James Thompson by the arm, roughly. Come on, buddy. Time to go. The party's over for you. Sir, don't touch the subject, Martinez said sharply. Why not? Preston tightened his grip. He's arrested, isn't he? He's a criminal. I have every right to remove him from my family's property. James Thompson looked at Preston. Really looked at him. And for the first time, something flashed in his eyes. Not fear, not sadness. Something harder. colder. "Remove your hand," James said quietly. "Or what?" Preston leaned in close. "You'll do what, exactly? You're in handcuffs, pal. You're nothing. You're nobody. You're exactly what you look like, a con artist who picked the wrong family to mess with." The crowd laughed, cheered. This was entertainment now, better than the wedding itself. Victoria Ashford was live streaming. 40,000 viewers right now. This is incredible. Wedding crasher getting exactly what he deserves. A black Mercedes pulled up to the pavilion. Fast, too fast. Tires screeched. A police captain emerged. 55 years old, gray hair, 30 years on the force. His face was pale, almost white. Captain Stevens jogged toward the scene, saw James in handcuffs, saw the crowd, saw Preston's hand on James's arm. His eyes went wide. "Everyone, step back!" Stevens roared. "Now!" The crowd froze. His voice had real authority, the kind that made people obey without thinking. Stevens pushed through to James, looked at Daniels and Martinez. "Did you run the ID number I asked for?" "Yes, sir. You told us to." "Did you look at what came back?" "Sir, the call dropped before—" "Jesus Christ!" Stevens looked at James, really looked at him. At the West Point ring, at the Purple Heart, at the Medal of Honor ribbon, at the man's bearing, his posture, his dignity despite everything. Stevens turned to Margaret, to Senator Hartford, to Preston, to the crowd. "Do you people have any idea what you've just done?" Margaret's smile faltered. "Excuse me?" "Someone," Stevens said slowly, his voice shaking, "get Lieutenant Brandon Cole out here, right now." "The groom is preparing for the ceremony," Margaret protested. "I won't have—" "Get him now!" Stevens roared, "or I swear to God you'll all be arrested." The pavilion went silent. Completely silent. Even the ocean seemed to stop crashing. From the manor house, a door burst open. Lieutenant Brandon Cole ran out, full dress uniform. His face was panicked, confused, searching the crowd. He saw James, in handcuffs, surrounded by police. His face went white. He started running. Brandon Cole ran like his life depended on it. His dress shoes slipped on marble. He nearly fell, caught himself, kept running. Sarah ran behind him, her white dress bunched in her fists. Her veil flew off. She didn't stop. The crowd parted, confused, uncertain. Something in Brandon's face made them step back. He reached the center, saw James in handcuffs, saw his mentor, his hero, surrounded, humiliated. Brandon stopped 10 feet away, his chest heaving, his eyes filling with tears. He came to attention. Military perfect, spine straight, shoulders back. His right hand snapped up. A salute, sharp, precise, held perfectly still. "General James Thompson, sir!" Brandon's voice cracked. "Lieutenant Brandon Cole requests permission to approach, sir." The world stopped. Every sound died. Every movement froze. 300 people turned to stone. Brandon held the salute. 5 seconds. 10. Tears streamed down his face. His hand didn't waver. Around them, 20 military officers snapped to attention. 20 right hands rose. 20 perfect salutes. Facing James. Margaret's face went white. Her mouth opened. No sound came out. Senator Hartford stumbled backward. His phone slipped from his hand, clattered on marble. Preston's grip on James's arm went slack. His hand fell away. Victoria Ashford's phone was still streaming. 40,000 viewers. Now 50,000. 60,000. Captain Stevens moved quickly, pulled out his keys, unlocked James's handcuffs. They fell away with a click that sounded like thunder. Brandon dropped his salute, rushed forward. "Sir, I am so sorry. I didn't know. I was inside." "At ease, Lieutenant." James's voice was quiet. steady, but emotion underneath. Raw, barely controlled. Brandon's whole body shook. "General, please forgive me. This is inexcusable." "Brandon." James put a hand on the younger man's shoulder. "Breathe." Sarah reached them. She looked at James, at her mother, back to James, horror and understanding colliding. "General Thompson?" Her voice was small, broken. James nodded. "Miss Wellington." "Oh my God!" Sarah turned to her mother. "Mom, what did you do?" Margaret couldn't speak, couldn't move. Her dress suddenly looked like a costume. Her diamonds looked like glass. Brandon turned to face the crowd. His voice was parade ground loud. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is General James Thompson, 4-star General, United States Army, former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff." Silence. Phones still recording, but no one spoke. Brandon's voice shook. This man commanded U.S. Central Command. He oversaw operations in Iraq and Afghanistan. He advised 3 presidents. Sarah stepped forward, tears running mascara down her cheeks. "General Thompson saved my husband's life. In Fallujah, 2019. Brandon's vehicle hit an IED. It was burning." Brandon took over. General Thompson ran toward the fire. Under enemy sniper fire, he pulled me out. Then he went back. 3 more times. Saved 4 men that day. Sarah continued. "He was 53 years old. He had shrapnel in his leg. He was bleeding. He kept going back." Brandon's voice cracked. "He carried me half a mile to the medevac. Stayed with me the whole flight. I woke up and he was there." The crowd was understanding now, realizing, feeling the weight of what they'd done. Colonel Reynolds broke free from security, ran to James, saluted. "Sir, I tried to tell them." "I know, Colonel." James returned the salute. "Stand down." Other military officers approached, one by one, saluted, apologized, each one a witness. Senator Hartford found his voice. A whisper. "General Thompson, I didn't recognize you out of uniform." James turned to face him, eyes like steel. "Senator, we've met 6 times. You testified before me 4 times last year. I was in civilian clothes twice. You looked right through me both times." Hartford's face went gray. The lighting..." "You saw what you expected to see," James said quietly. "A black man in an expensive suit. And you decided I didn't belong." Preston was backing away, trying to disappear. James's eyes found him. "Mr. Blackwood, you grabbed my arm. You called me buddy. You told me to know my place." Preston's mouth opened, closed. "How was I supposed to know?" "You could have asked," James said simply. "You could have listened." Margaret found her voice, strangled, desperate. "General Thompson, this is a terrible misunderstanding. If you had just said who you were..." "I tried." James's voice was soft, but it carried. "I told you I was invited. I showed you my invitation, my military ID. You chose not to hear any of it." Sarah walked to her mother. Her voice was ice. "You didn't listen because you'd already decided. You saw his skin color and decided he was the help." "That's not true. I would never..." "Then what would you call this?" Sarah gestured at the scene. "You had him arrested, handcuffed. You accused him of theft." Brandon addressed the crowd. General Thompson was going to walk Sarah down the aisle. He was going to give the first toast. He flew from Washington for this wedding. The crowd shifted, uncomfortable, ashamed. Phones lowering, looking at the ground. Officer Daniels stepped forward. "General, sir, I apologize. We were responding to a complaint." "You did your job, officer." James's voice was kind. "The people who made those accusations, they need to apologize." All eyes turned to Margaret, Senator Hartford, Preston, the 100 guests who'd laughed. The silence was crushing. Brandon stood at attention. "General, sir, I understand if you want to leave." James looked at Brandon, at Sarah, at the military officers, at the crowd of humiliated elites. "Lieutenant Cole, it's still your wedding day, and I gave you my word." Brandon's face crumpled with relief. James turned to the crowd. His voice is commanding. "Final. But everyone here witnessed what happened. Whether you mocked me, filmed me, or stayed silent, you're all complicit." The man they'd tried to throw out now commanded everything. Margaret tried to speak. Her voice came out as a rasp. "General Thompson, I apologize most sincerely. This was an honest mistake." "No, ma'am." James's voice was quiet steel. "Not a mistake. A judgment. One you made instantly, based solely on my appearance." "But I didn't know, with security concerns—" "Stop!" Sarah's voice cut through. "Just stop, Mom." Margaret turned to her daughter, desperate. "Sarah, you have to understand—" "I understand perfectly." Sarah's voice was cold. "You humiliated the man who saved Brandon's life." Margaret's face went blank. "What?" Brandon stepped forward. "Sarah's father passed away 2 years ago. She asked if General Thompson would walk her down the aisle. He flew from Washington to do it." "And you called him a thief," Sarah said, tears streaming. "You had him arrested." James Wellington spoke. His voice was hollow. "Margaret, we should go inside." "Inside? It's our daughter's wedding." "Which you just destroyed," Sarah said flatly. "Leave." Senator Hartford tried to salvage something. "General, surely mistakes happen in the heat of the moment." "Senator," James's voice was ice, "you told the police I wasn't real. You fabricated a Pentagon call. You lied about a superior officer." Colonel Reynolds stepped forward. "You testified before him 8 months ago." Shook his hand. Called him general. Hartford stumbled backward. "I see hundreds of people. You see what you want to see." Officer Martinez pulled out her notebook. "Ma'am, we need statements. False reporting. False testimony. Civil rights violations." Margaret's voice went shrill. "Civil rights? I never used racial language." "You don't have to use slurs, ma'am," Officer Daniels said. "Your actions spoke clearly." Preston tried to edge away. Captain Stevens blocked him. "Mr. Blackwood, you grabbed a general officer. That's assault." "I barely touched him." "You grabbed my arm," James said. "Squeezed it. Called me nobody." Preston's wife appeared from the crowd. Her face was stone. "We're done, Preston. I'm taking the kids." She walked away. He reached for her. She kept walking. Victoria Ashford frantically typed, deleting, reposting. "General Thompson, I'll print a front-page apology." "You'll print the truth," James said. "All of it." Victoria's hands shook. "My career will be destroyed." "You tried to destroy mine." A guest stepped forward. Middle-aged man, expensive suit. "General, I filmed you. I laughed. I'm ashamed." Another guest, then another, apologizing, crying, heads down. Many others were slipping away quietly, leaving before their faces were identified. "Everyone who participated," Brandon announced. "Every person who laughed, filmed, or stayed silent. You know who you are." Victoria checked her phone, face white. "It's viral. Everywhere. 15 million views already." Margaret grabbed her husband's arm. "Do something. Our reputation—" "Is destroyed," James Wellington said quietly. "By your hand." Brandon turned to James Thompson. "General, if you still want to—" "I do." James looked at Sarah. "If you'll have me." Sarah rushed forward, hugged him, sobbed into his jacket. "Thank you for staying." Margaret made a sound, half sob. "I was supposed to walk her." "You made your choice, Mom," Sarah said. Officer Martinez approached Margaret. "Ma'am, come to the station. Give a formal statement." "The station? During my daughter's wedding?" "You called us here, ma'am," Daniel said. "Made accusations. That requires documentation." Senator Hartford pulled out his phone. "I'm calling my lawyer." "You'll need one, sir," Captain Stevens said. Half the guests had left. The other half stood frozen. Witnesses to shame. Kyle, the security guard, approached. "Sir, I apologize. I should have verified." "You were following orders," James said. "Factual, not forgiving." Margaret tried again. "General Thompson, please, I'll do anything." James looked at her. Long moment. "Mrs. Wellington, there's nothing you can do. Not today. Maybe not ever. Face what you've done. Take responsibility. Maybe someday I will change." Margaret crumpled. Her husband caught her. He looked at James Thompson with naked shame. Brandon stood at attention. "Sir, shall we proceed?" James straightened his jacket. "We shall, Lieutenant. Let's give your bride the wedding she deserves." Guests parted as James and Sarah walked toward the ceremony area. Behind them, police took statements. Guests were identified. Videos saved as evidence. The man they tried to destroy was walking a bride down the aisle. The people who destroyed themselves were facing justice. 24 hours later, the video had exploded across every platform. CNN led their evening news with it. "Four-star general racially profiled at elite wedding." The footage played on loop. Margaret's voice, Preston's laughter, the handcuffs clicking shut. MSNBC ran an 8-minute segment. "Former Joint Chiefs chairman humiliated by mob." Split screens showed James in handcuffs beside his official Pentagon photo. 4 stars gleaming. Fox News covered it extensively. Military hero attacked at Hampton's wedding. Even their hosts couldn't defend it. By 48 hours, the numbers were staggering. 80 million views across all platforms. The hashtag #WeddingDisgrace trended for 3 days straight. Facebook groups formed overnight. TikTok exploded with response videos. Every major newspaper ran front-page stories. New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal. International papers picked it up. London, Paris, Tokyo. Margaret Wellington's phone rang constantly, then stopped. That was worse. Monday morning, the Metropolitan Museum Board called. "Margaret, we think it's best if you resign, effective immediately." She tried to argue. The board chair cut her off. "Your position is untenable. The vote was unanimous." Lincoln Center called an hour later. Same message, same cold tone. By Wednesday, all 3 Fortune 500 boards requested her resignation. Her charity foundation lost $8.5 million in pledges overnight. Donors cited fundamental disagreements with leadership values. Wellington family businesses took hits. 3 major contracts were canceled, worth $40 million combined. Companies didn't want the association. The country club revoked her membership. 600 members signed the petition. Lifetime ban. Her husband's, too. Senator Hartford's world collapsed faster. The Senate Ethics Committee announced an investigation Tuesday. The charges were damning. Lying to law enforcement, abuse of position, conduct unbecoming. Wednesday, he was removed as Armed Services Committee chairman. The vote was bipartisan. His own party abandoned him. His home state newspaper ran a scathing editorial. Senator Hartford must resign. They detailed every lie, every fabrication. Town halls were canceled. Death threats flooded his office. His approval rating plummeted, 67% to 23% in 6 days. 3 major donors withdrew support. Primary challengers announced. His political career was over. Preston Blackwood's hedge fund hemorrhaged clients. $200 million withdrawn in 72 hours. Partnerships dissolved. Bloomberg's headline, "Blackwood Fund collapses after racist tirade." The financial world moved fast. Brutal. Final. His country club expelled him. His children's private school requested withdrawal. Other parents threatened to leave. His divorce was filed publicly. His wife's statement was damning. "I cannot remain married to someone whose character I fundamentally misjudged." Victoria Ashford's syndicated column was terminated Friday. Her book deal was canceled. Speaking engagements evaporated. 200,000 followers became 15,000 in a week. She became a cautionary tale in journalism ethics courses. How not to report. How bias destroys credibility. 6 weeks later, criminal proceedings began. The courtroom was packed. Media everywhere. Cameras lined the walls. This was the trial everyone wanted to see. Margaret Wellington arrived with 3 expensive lawyers. She wore conservative clothes, tried to look humble. It didn't work. The district attorney prosecuted personally. "Your Honor, Mrs. Wellington weaponized law enforcement against an innocent man. She lied, fabricated accusations, incited a mob, all because of racial prejudice." Margaret's lawyer stood. "Your Honor, my client made an error in judgment. She's already suffered enormous consequences." "Consequences she brought on herself," the prosecutor interrupted. "This wasn't an error. It was deliberate." The evidence was overwhelming. 14 videos, police body cameras, 30 witness statements, Margaret's own words recorded clearly. The prosecutor played audio. Margaret's voice filled the courtroom. "Does he look like a general?" Cruel laughter in the background. The defense tried character witnesses, former colleagues, society friends. Their testimonies rang hollow, scripted. General Thompson took the stand. The courtroom went silent. He wore his dress uniform, 4 stars gleaming, ribbons covering his chest. His testimony was measured, calm, devastating. "I've commanded 50,000 troops. I've made life and death decisions in combat. I've advised presidents. But standing in that pavilion, handcuffed, surrounded by that mob, I felt powerless, utterly powerless." He paused. The courtroom was silent enough to hear breathing. This wasn't about inconvenience. It was about being dehumanized, reduced to a stereotype, by people with every advantage who chose to use privilege as a weapon. 2 jurors were crying. The verdict came quickly, guilty on all counts. The judge was stern, 60 years old, black woman. She'd seen this too many times. "Mrs. Wellington, you didn't make a mistake. You weaponized privilege and law enforcement against an innocent man. You led a mob. You tried to destroy someone based purely on skin color." Margaret tried to speak. The judge held up her hand. "Your wealth doesn't shield you. Your social position doesn't excuse bigotry." The sentence was harsh. $25,000 fine, 500 hours community service at a homeless veteran shelter, 2 years probation, 100 hours mandatory bias training. And you will issue a public apology, filmed, published, on every platform where the original video appeared. Margaret's face crumpled. Senator Hartford's trial was separate. Federal charges, making false statements to law enforcement, obstruction. His phone records showed no Pentagon call. His testimony before General Thompson was on record. He'd shaken the general's hand 8 months earlier. The jury deliberated 90 minutes, guilty on all counts. $50,000 fine, 1,000 hours of community service, 3 years probation. He resigned from the Senate the next day. The civil lawsuit came next. General Thompson versus Wellington, Hartford, Blackwood, and 8 others. Defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, civil rights violations. General Thompson's testimony was powerful. True. I didn't serve 36 years to be treated as suspicious in my own country. I didn't earn these medals to be profiled. I didn't survive combat to be humiliated. The jury awarded $4.7 million total. Margaret, $2 million. Hartford, $1.5 million. Preston, $800,000. Others, $400,000. General Thompson donated every penny to veterans organizations supporting minority service members. Kept nothing. Systemic changes came fast. Wellington Manor implemented mandatory anti-discrimination training, quarterly, third-party audits, community oversight, local police revised protocols, new rules for trespassing calls, mandatory verification before searches, bias training, 8 hours annually. The Senate Armed Services Committee adopted new ethics rules, required verification before questioning service members, bias training for all members and staff. 50 municipalities nationwide adopted similar policies. The case became a teaching tool. Harvard Business School made it a case study. 3 other similar incidents came to light. Other wealthy families, other assumptions. Those investigations were ongoing. The president issued a statement. General Thompson served with distinction. What happened to him demands accountability. Brandon and Sarah established a scholarship fund. The Colonel Reed Veterans Education Fund. $5 million raised in the first year. The wedding video became required viewing. Diversity training, corporate seminars, police academies, schools. 150 million total views worldwide. Most watched viral video of the year. But the work wasn't done. The conversation had just begun. 1 year later, General James Thompson stood in his new office. Not a military office anymore, a civilian one. Large windows overlooked the Potomac River. The nameplate on his desk read, Secretary of Veterans Affairs. A cabinet position, appointed by the president, confirmed unanimously. He used his platform for 2 missions now. Veterans' rights and racial justice. They were connected. You couldn't separate them. He gave speeches. Over 100 in the first year. His talk was always the same. Dignity under fire. He'd written a memoir. Uniform Judgment. #1 on the New York Times bestseller list for 16 weeks. Proceeds went to his foundation, Service Without Prejudice. A young black captain sat across from him. Nervous, honored. Sir, that day at the wedding, how did you stay so calm? I would have exploded. James leaned back, smiled slightly. Anger was my first instinct, but anger without strategy accomplishes nothing. So you planned it? No, but I understood something. I was witnessing people reveal who they are. My job was to let them, then let consequences unfold naturally. The captain nodded. The question isn't whether you have anger, James continued. It's what you do with it. Destroy you or channel it into change. Margaret Wellington had completed her community service. 500 hours at the homeless veteran shelter. She'd worked quietly, genuinely. She attended therapy now. Bias training. Not because a judge ordered it, because she chose to continue. Her relationship with Sarah was healing. Slowly. Some wounds took time. She'd written James a letter 6 months after the trial. Not asking forgiveness, just acknowledging, accepting. He'd written back. Brief. Actions speak louder than words, Mrs. Wellington. Show the world who you're becoming. She was trying. Senator Hartford never recovered. He'd lost everything. His seat, his reputation, his marriage. He lived quietly now in a different state. Consultant work, a fraction of his former income. He'd testified supporting the General Thompson Law, legislation strengthening penalties for false reporting based on race. 15 states passed it. Federal legislation pending. I let my assumptions override my duty, Hartford said at the hearing. I hope others learn from my catastrophic mistake. Not redemption, but acknowledgement. Preston Blackwood remained bitter. His fund collapsed, divorce final, lost custody of his children. He blamed everyone but himself. Some people never learned. Victoria Ashford worked in public relations now, small nonprofit. She paid monthly installments on her judgment for 20 years. She'd tried rebuilding her social media. It failed. She was a symbol now, of consequences. Brandon and Sarah Cole celebrated their first anniversary quietly. Brandon was promoted to captain. Sarah worked with General Thompson's foundation. Their wedding video had 150 million views, shown in classrooms, middle school to law school, a teaching tool, a warning. They'd had a private ceremony after that day, just military friends. Margaret wasn't invited. The wound was too fresh. But recently, Sarah called her mother. They had coffee, talked, cried. A beginning. James finished his paperwork, looked at the photo on his desk. Brandon and Sarah, laughing, truly happy. He'd walked her down that aisle, given the toast, made the day about love instead of hate. His phone buzzed. A message from a young veteran. Black. Marine. Sir, I saw your video. I've experienced similar situations. Your dignity inspired me to speak up. Thank you. James smiled. This was why he kept going. He typed back. Your voice matters. Your experience matters. Don't let anyone make you invisible. He walked to the window, sun setting over the Potomac, golden light everywhere. He thought about that day, the handcuffs, the mob, the humiliation, but also the aftermath, the change, the conversations, the laws, the awareness. Racism wasn't always burning crosses and slurs. Sometimes it was a snap judgment, a call to security, a refusal to listen, an assumption someone didn't belong. The people who humiliated him weren't evil. They were comfortable, never questioned their assumptions, never had to. But here's the uncomfortable truth. We all have biases. Every single one of us. The question isn't whether you have them. It's what you do when confronted with them. That wedding crowd had a choice. Most joined the mob. A few tried to speak up and were silenced. Even fewer did something. The question isn't what you would have done. It's what you'll do next time. Because there will be a next time. If this story moved you, do something real. Notice your own snap judgments. When you make assumptions based on appearance, catch yourself. Speak up. The next time you see injustice, even subtle, say something. Silence is agreement. Share this story. But share your own, too. Have you been judged wrongly, or have you judged others? Support veterans, especially minority veterans. They deserve better. Subscribe for more stories like this. Stories that make us uncomfortable. Growth happens in discomfort. So here's the final truth. If you'd been at that wedding, what would you have done? In the crowd? Silent? Or one of the few who spoke up? Don't answer me. Answer yourself. Then decide who you want to be next time. Because your choice matters. Your voice matters. Your actions matter. What will you choose?